Hi, I'm just back from Knobcon, which is a modular synthesizer convention that's held every year just outside of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. Now, it's a long way for me to travel, so I wanted to kind of get the most out of it and see if I could visit as many booths as possible. I was also lucky enough to be able to perform live while I was there in the afternoon sessions on Saturday, and I'll have a little snippet of that video at the end. So in this video, I'm going to go through some of the things that caught my eye and talk a little bit about some modules that I had seen last year that have come along nicely and are ready for sale. So I'm going to go through a sort of a whistle-stop top 10 things of Knobcon. You've probably seen me posting on Instagram about it, but this is a little bit of a deeper dive. Knobcon is great for seeing manufacturers in the US that may not be able to get to Berlin so easily because it's quite a trip for them to go to Superbooth. So you're able to connect with a different group of people over there, and it's always a really nice chill vibe as well. One of the nice things about Knobcon I find is it's all in one place. You don't have to wander around so much. So you're always bumping into people you know, including some well-known YouTubers. One of the first booths I stopped off at was Afterlater Audio. I've worked with them for quite a while now. Lenny does some amazing work making modules. I really like their Bartender Barback series. You've seen me cover it in other videos. They had continued to evolve that. They've some new modules coming out now. They've also got a new case, which I had a prototype of, but it was lovely to see the final version of it. And really interestingly, they are now getting into guitar pedals, which I think is an interesting move, a modular maker getting into the guitar pedal world. Remains to be seen how well it goes, but I wish them the best of luck. The pedals look very interesting, and they've got a great experience in making good modules, so I think it'll work out well. I stopped off at the Denkioto table. The thing that I wanted to see there was the ShieldXL. So if you're familiar with the Norns from Monome, the ShieldXL is a sort of an extension of that has quarter-inch stereo in, quarter-inch stereo out, a few more ports on the back, a little bit bigger in size than the standard Norns. They were also showing a new MIDI controller type that interacts with the Shield because a lot of the original versions of the Monome stuff are unavailable and you can't get them. So people are trying to come up with workarounds. Right next to Denkioto was a very interesting module, which is the Ectocore, which is by the same folks who brought us the Core, so you can see a bit of a naming theme there. Ectocore is a kind of a sample chopper like the classic Amen break. In fact, it actually has a button on the front that's called Amen. And the idea is you load up samples onto an SD card, pop them in there, and then you're able to slice and break them and do kind of looping breaks in time with a beat, all by sending it in different triggers in CV. Earth Modular Society is an open collective of people who like to stream modular performances live over the internet. No strings attached, no pressure, no money involved, just everyone having a good time, chilling out, playing. And they had a table and a webcam set up, and it was amazing to see. You could bring along modular and people were setting up their cases while live streaming, and everyone was in the chat talking away. So it was a wonderful community vibe to it. I was really happy to see that they were there, and it also encouraged me to get into streaming a bit more as well. I stopped off at the Infrasonic table because Nick had shown me earlier versions of the Warp Core last year when I was at Knobcon. So I was very interested to see how it would come along, and it really has improved a lot. He's got a lot of new features in it, and he's built an expander to go with it, a little 4 HP expander. And so this is a fantastic stereo phase distortion oscillator, some huge sounds possible out of it, lots of built-in sort of waveforms that you can cycle through. This is one worth keeping an eye on, especially if you're in the market for a new oscillator. Now, if you had watched my Superbooth coverage, you would have seen that 4MS announced their Meta module, which is a module that can run VCV rack patches, or a subset of them anyway. And 4MS were there. Meta is now available for sale as of right now in this video. People are buying it, people are getting it and using it. So I wanted to swing by and see how they had been getting on developing it and what they were thinking about in terms of expander modules. The example they were running as a demo had 4 ensemble oscillators, which I have here in this setup. And the ensemble oscillators are pretty heavy duty voice. So to have 4 of them running and the CPU is only peaking at about 37% was very encouraging. In all these modules, it really comes down to what you want to build, because I would recommend building the patches on your PC, downloading them into the module, and more of the VCV rack modules are getting ported. So all the 4MS ones are there, all the Bafako ones are there, all the Bog Audio ones are there. They also had some expander modules that they're prototyping out, which is really encouraging. So like expanding this won't be an issue. It can become the heart of a whole ecosystem. So Noise Engineering had two new modules. They had the Gamut Repetitor and the Op-Ned. The Gamut Repetitor was really interesting, and in the video you'll see how Patrick quickly patches it up to create just evolving and interesting melodies going on.
Then you can take that same pattern that it's generating, but it's going to be generating at half the speed for the BIA.
Just by turning the knobs real quick, you change the melody completely. We had a load of fun playing with this while we were there. The Op-Ned is an arpeggio generator, so pretty specific module. I don't think I've ever seen a module that's specifically for arpeggios before, but this one paired up with the Gamut Repetitor, and you've got yourself instant generative sequencing, whether you're doing techno bass lines or ambient sort of very evolving soundscapes. Now, it wasn't just modular music synthesizers, there were also video synthesizers there too. This is an area I'm very intrigued by, but I really haven't had time to explore, which is where you can use the sound that you're generating to generate visuals. And these really, really improve a performance. The live performances I did had these all behind them with a professional VJ, and the quality was amazing, but it upped the level of the performance and experience for everybody. So I was curious to see how Sleepy Circuits had been getting on. I spoke with them last year. They had two products. One is Hypno, and the new one is Mezz, which is this little handheld video synth that integrates with an iPad, and then you can stream that imagery to anywhere. It also reacts to audio. As you can see, I talked to it on the screen, and it reacted that the images reacted to my voice, and it's all USB powered and also Bluetooth enabled, so you're able to just generate visuals on the go. And because it's small and handheld, you can just take it with you to you're jamming with your friends or wherever you are. You don't need a big complex setup. So one that would be very fun to play with, I think, if you like to pair the visuals with the music you're making. But it wasn't all like complex electronics. Sometimes we need the simple things like stands from Synth Rise, which are the new name for KVRgear. And these are stands, modular stands in some ways, that you can put together and assemble to hold all different shapes and sizes of gear. It's the little things sometimes that make our lives easier, and this was one of them. Speaking of little things, I stopped off at the Tidbits booth, and they have all sorts of little tiny modules. I'd almost call them just like adapters that can do things like do multi-switching, do tapped switching, and do attenuation. So if you just needed something to quickly tap on and off or generate a trigger with your finger, you didn't want to buy a whole module to do it, you should take a look at their line of little adapters, all of which have 3.5mm plugs in them, so you can just plug in a cable to it and off you go. You always think you have loads more time than you do at these type of shows. Once you get drawn into conversations with people and you're discussing things and the ins and outs of things, then time passes by so quickly. And there were great talks also by a lot of well-known people in the music scene, as well as live performances all throughout the day, and then of course into the night as well. And the party didn't end there. Apparently people got quite wild later on. I was safely in bed by then. Anyway, if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them for me down below on anything I talked about here or anything you might have seen in other coverage at Knobcon. I'll do my best to answer them. And stay tuned, because I will be posting a video of my live performance that I did there, and also a breakdown of my live set I brought with me. Thanks for watching.